she's like, oh yes, your imaginary pig, and then she's like, oh crap, there's a real pig.
Hello, Internet. My name is Alex Davis, and if you didn't know that already, where have you been for the last 11 years? That's a new number. Wait a second. Who are you?
It's me, God.
How did you get in here anyway? This is a private filming session.
I'm breaking COVID rules. I'm not.
You're not social distancing. This is not cool, Kailey.
We're in 2 different provinces. I think that's at least more than 6 feet.
Well, like 10, but that's besides the point.
What's the difference between Moncton, New Brunswick, and Canso, Nova Scotia? It's like at least 10 feet.
You would explain why we're here, because clearly I can't.
Doing a video. Surprise, surprise. That's how YouTube works. Like, no, this will be a still picture slideshow. Alex and I came up with these months ago. We each came up with 5 questions that we were both going to answer.
I swear, if you bring up another sloth question, it is not going to end well.
No sloth this time.
I don't know which side you're on because my camera flips, so I think you're over here.
What is the most interesting thing you've learned recently outside of school?
How to drive. I can drive now. There'll be a video about that. Link somewhere below when it happens. Someone doesn't know her left from her right, but that's besides the point.
That's you! Every direction for Alex is left.
It's not my fault you got us lost like 6 or 7 times while you were down in Halifax.
If you're driving Alex and he's giving you directions and he points right, but he says left,
you go the opposite way.
He means where he points. He does not mean what he says. So just like, don't listen to what he's saying. Just like go where the hand is pointing, and that's what he means.
The amount of times I said left and you went left when I meant to say right.
Everything was left. You want to know what I learned?
What did you learn?
Okay, I'm so excited about this one. It's really nerdy. So we got Harry Potter and we got Star Wars. I was watching a YouTube video by the channel Sideways, and he talks about music a bunch. And if you look up the Sideways video on music in the Marauders map, something like that, you'll find this. And it's awesome. The guy who wrote the score for Harry Potter 1 was working on Harry Potter 2, and he was also working on Star Wars Episode 2 and like 2 or 3 other movies. And basically what happened was he said to this second man in charge, hey, there's going to be gaps where I don't have time to write something, so you can just take like tidbits of music from the first movie and like rearrange them and put them in there. But something happened by accident where he gave him a bit of the wrong music to use. And so that is why there is this Quidditch chase scene in Chamber of Secrets that is scored with the exact same music from Attack of the Clones. It is beautiful.
I'm going to link that somewhere below.
If you go to about like just past like 2 minutes into the Sideways video, you'll see it.
So if you could ask the 2025 version of yourself one thing and have them ask you one thing, what would it be and why?
Did I finally find love?
The answer to that is probably going to be no. I'm not a supportive friend whatsoever.
I also want to know, what's my job? Where am I living? Do I have kids? But I guess, my main one would be like, did I find love or am I still single? What would I have them ask me? I already know everything that's happening right now. In the future, what would I want future me to ask past me? Maybe like a challenging question to like push me in the right direction. What are your goals? And then I'd be like, oh yeah, I should like set some of those.
But the thing is, future you's already going to know what past you's goals are. And she's already going to know whether you've achieved them or not.
Okay, I can have a crystal ball. What do you want to know about your future?
Am I hopelessly alone?
So you copied me.
Well, I mean, it's an important question. Doesn't everyone want to know whether they're going to find love? I'd come back and ask myself, like, what the heck were you thinking? Like, I definitely want to ask past me now. Like, what the heck? Like, why? And you and I both know what those things are. We'll keep that as a secret, but we know.
Future me would definitely ask present me, like, about certain life choices.
That way, future you could warn past you what was going to happen so that you didn't do it. It's like the butterfly effect, except you're flicking the butterfly and saying, go the heck away.
What is your favorite story from your childhood?
Oh boy. I would have to say, I do have a couple of answers for that. So the first one is the embarrassing one. My brother, if he's watching this, which he probably is, he pulled my pants down in a shoe store once. He knows what he did. He knows.
How old were you?
I was about 11. So like right around that time that like things start to change and like.
Because if you're like 3, it's like, whatever, but.
No, 11 was like That's a pretty transformative year for people. The other one, and I think you know this story, is about the time that I burned my hand in a wood stove when I was 4. I was climbing a set of stairs and there was a wood stove at the top. Why there was a wood stove there, I really don't know. I just reached out to pull myself up and I put my hand down, and the next thing I know, I've got a welt the size of a baseball on it. I don't remember any of this. This is just what I was told. I have this, and I always will.
I mean, it looks cool.
I mean, it does, yeah. But like, honestly, I don't even notice it half the time.
I love this story. I tell all my friends this story. You may have heard it. I don't know. This is called the Crazy Pig story. When I was little, my grandparents, they were babysitting my sister and I, and my sister and I were pretty little, and we were pretending like we were playing like farm, right? So you're like imagining, and you're like, oh, I got, this imaginary animal and this imaginary animal. But like all of a sudden, my sister just starts screaming, and I'm just like, what's up? And she's like, pig. And I'm like, oh, yes, your imaginary pig. And she's like, no,
hold up just a second. I'm imagining your sister just like screaming her head off, and you're just walking up and go, hey, what's up? And like happy.
That's not exactly how it went. As you can probably imagine where the story is going, there was a real pig. At the time, we thought this was like the cutest thing. It was this huge, fat, ugly, pot-bellied pig just running rampant through the woods. It's not really normal for that sort of thing to happen. So I go to tell my grandmother, and like same thing happens with her. She's like, oh yes, your imaginary pig. And then she's like, oh crap, there's a real pig. My grandmother always like played along with us, but my grandfather like not so much. So he's just like, yes, dear. And then he sees the pig. Well, this pig runs through the woods, and we're kind of chasing it, and then it runs through our backyard, up the hill, through our front yard, and then down into the subdivision. And apparently when it got there, it did more damage. But my sister and I drew pictures that we put up in our elementary school that said found the pig, just hand-drawn pictures of a pig. Yeah, my grandfather was on the radio about that.
So what Taylor Swift lyrics speak to the person that you are today?
This was a very hard one. I've realized I'm a pretty big T Swift fan. I wouldn't call myself like a Swiftie. Evermore, as Alex knows, is like my favorite thing ever, and I'm really obsessed with it right now. Even like on that album alone, it's hard to pick out specific lyrics. I would say, without getting like too into my personal life, there's a lyric that I really like in the song Happiness, and it says, there is happiness in our history. And I just like that. I think that's nice.
I'm going to go a little more old school here because I do have an answer to this. It's the bridge from All Too Well.
That was a song that I never really knew existed until like this year.
That song and that bridge alone has got me through many a hard time.
Oh, it's so good.
It's honestly, it's debatable that it's one of her best lyrics ever that she's ever written.
The lyric is, you call me up again just to break me like a promise. So
casually cruel in the name of being honest. Anyone who's been close to me in the last 4 years knows what's happened, and like that song alone has gotten me, yeah.
Number three.
I
don't know why I said that.
Number 3.
I don't know why I said it like that. What is something that not many people know about sloths? I mean, about you.
What did I say, Kailey? I'm not obsessed with sloths. When will you let this go?
Answer the question. I have a weird phobia. It's pretty rare. It's called trypophobia. If you Google it, it will say it's the fear of holes. Yeah, first of all, it is not the fear of holes. If I see a hole in the ground, I'm not like, what?
Oh, holes. Also, oh, no.
Huge warning. Do not Google it. People who do not have the phobia will get grossed out by the images too. I promise you. It's a texture thing, right? Clusters of small things, including holes, but not always holes. For me, I don't like seeds. The inside of like a green pepper, or the inside of a pomegranate is like the worst thing ever.
I am actually scared of heights. I'm not traditionally scared of heights. Like I can look down at something from a tall, like if I'm up high somewhere and I look down, totally fine. Mm-hmm. But if I look up, I feel like I'm falling backwards, especially if I'm standing on like bleachers or something and I look up and there's nothing like behind me to support. Like if I do fall back, I can't do that. Like I feel like I'm automatically going to fall backwards, even if I'm just standing completely straight.
That's interesting. I've never even thought about that.
And I mean, I'm a naturally tall person. Like, and so like that doesn't work.
Alex looks at the sky.
So what is something that deeply scares you, like deeply in your soul?
The scariest thing to me is losing people. When it happens, it's the worst. There's people like leaving my life that are really important to me. What terrifies your soul?
I don't want to copy all your answers, but like, you know, I don't want to be alone forever. I'd like to settle down with some nice girl someday. The me that I present myself to be to everyone else is not the me that I actually am. And the one thing that actually scares the heck out of me, and I'm being very serious here, I find it very hard to explain and be the actual me that I am in person because of nerves getting in the way. And I hate that. So what scares me is the fact that I will never be able to show who I actually am, which is not the Alex Davis you're seeing here. This is not fully who I am. And I think that's impeded by my inability to not beat around the bush. Because I feel like if I were to be able to explain myself in a way that was more constructive and sort of filtered,
like condensed,
then I would be more on track to doing that. But I am worried and I'm deeply scared that I will never be able to do that. I'm not doing that correctly, which I know I'm not in a lot of situations. I don't know what you would call that. Like
being authentic, maybe.
And I'm not saying that the me that I present is not authentic, but it's not how I want to be represented. Sometimes it's a lot of fun, but not all the time.
But someone was saying that they used to always be scared of, like, they really wanted to be the same person around everybody, like the exact same way. You're gonna naturally be different around different people, and I think like you're naturally gonna be different in different situations. Like I'm gonna be different around my friends than I am around certain family members than I am around, I don't know, whoever.
There's gotta be a term for that.
There probably is. As someone with, I like to say, half a psychology degree, I do not know said term.
Where'd the other half go? Did you lose it in a fire? If you're watching this, let us know what it is in the comments below. Our friendship was made for this.
I know.
For this COVID thing.
How rare is this? You meet someone who is not from, you meet them once and they're not from where you're from. And like there's like 2 different provinces, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And we ended up from that becoming best friends and being best friends for how many years now?
I think it's bordering on 8.
How rare is that?
That just doesn't happen.
We became friends over Skype. That's how old we are.
I'm pretty sure the year before I met you, I was still using MSN. If you could say one thing to a former love interest, what would it be and why?
Oh, Lord.
And if any of ours are out there watching this, hi guys, how you doing?
Okay, by love interest, you mean like exes, crushes?
I mean anything where you had feelings for them.
For all of my legit ex-boyfriends, I don't really have anything to say to them because this sounds mean, but like none of them are in my life. I didn't stay friends with them and I don't have any care to talk to them. I guess like to my last actual ex-boyfriend, I would say like, thanks for not harassing me anymore. Oh my gosh, he emailed me for months and it was like a pattern and it was like 5 emails were like, you're a heartless, horrible person, yada yada. And then like the sixth email would be like, but I love you so. I don't want to like reveal people I've had a crush on. I will say that like, okay, someone that I formerly had a crush on who is still my friend, they definitely know who they are. Thanks for still being my friend. You're awesome.
There's a lot I could say. There's a lot I could say.
Oh, there's a lot I could say that I don't feel like sharing with the internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is the hardest question.
This is the worst question of all because there's no way that I'm going to be able to edit this out. To my last few ex-girlfriends, you know who you are. I realized that I was not the best boyfriend. I sort of wish that I had taken more blame for things that I did wrong that I didn't know I did wrong. I apologize. To the ex-crushes who didn't know who they were, there were so many like things that should have been said that weren't.
I had a crush on this guy from like grade 8 through grade 9. And we were not friends, but when he found out that I liked him, he was pretty nice to me about it. Yeah, that was a really funny time though, because I basically didn't know anything about him at all. But like my friends were like really kind of jerks about it, and they would like tell him all the time. They're just like, oh, she's in love with you and stuff.
Yeah, middle school kids are the worst.
We had like one interaction. I was like, oh, he's so cool. And then I just went on about him for 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, I've been that person. Similar story. There was this girl in between grade 10 and grade 12 that I was like head over heels for, and I mean crushing level. I'm not talking like in love. And I would just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about how much I liked her. And Justine and I, we used to have this private Gmail account where we used to go on and do daily reports about our crushes and what happened with them, even if it was like the slightest thing. And every day there was something because we made it happen. Like even if they just said hi to us or like looked in our direction, we'd be like, at such and such a time, so and so looked at me. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Yada yada yada. She only ever said one word to me the entire time I had a crush on her. And then after I stopped, we actually became somewhat good friends. One of those really weird sort of childish things that I look back on it and I'm just thinking, Oh no.
If you could just drop some knowledge on the whole world, what would you want them to know? Round of applause for Johnny.
Shouldn't it go the other way? Because don't they drive on the other side of the road over there?
Counterclockwise. Round of applause for Johnny.
I don't particularly like Country Taylor. A lot of her lyrics, especially if you listen to them one after the other, a lot of her songs sound the same.
Yeah, like stylistically, there are definitely some songs I compare to others. Like Mirrorball is like.
Oh, I love Mirrorball. Mirrorball is fantastic.
I love it.
Like the
Mirrorball, especially the lyrics are very like classic Taylor. There's certain like themes or images that she reuses a lot. Sometimes there's things that carry over from song to song.
She's very good at leaving things where she wants us to find them.
Number one, I wish everyone knew Jesus. I mean, I do mean that seriously, but it just seems so like.
I mean, it sounds.
You can't say that without sounding like really cliche.
Jesus loves you. Yes, I know.
Got a little visit from Pastor Kailey there. How to use the word bipolar.
This is a hot take.
You know, I can say this obviously as someone who is bipolar, very open about that. I've heard people use the word bipolar and almost it's become such a problem that like before someone has even finished their sentence, like I'm internally cringing because I'm like, oh, it's gonna be bad. It's not always bad, but okay, for example, say you're dating a guy and you're like, oh my gosh, like he's all over the place. One day he wants this, one day he wants that. Sometimes he loves me, sometimes he hates me. He's so bipolar. No, you know the Katy Perry song that's like hot and cold, yes, no, in, out, up, down. Here would be a good way to use it. So say, like I don't have a super specific example, but like say you're explaining a concept and you're like, there's two extremes to this. On the one extreme, you have this, and on the other extreme, you have that. Bipolar. That would be a good way to use it because that's where bipolar comes from. We have the same emotions as everybody else, and usually our moods are within that range, but we also have two like fun little extras on the side. And by fun, I mean not fun at all. It does not mean being fickle. It does not mean mood swings, like unless you're like super uber duper rapidly cycling, you're not going to go between mania and depression that fast. Like a manic episode is going to take, for me, like months to go through the full arc. And then one usually does follow the other, but it's not going to happen in one day, my friend.
I don't know how much you're going to allow me to speak on this for a second. As your best friend and as someone who's experienced a small portion of...
You've 100% seen me manic.
I just want to confirm that before I tell the internet. It's like a snowball. Once you get going, it goes and 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 it goes until someone or something breaks it up. This is not how you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be a snowball. You're supposed to be a pretty little snowman who has everything together all the time. But that all the timeness is completely unreasonable because nobody, especially not people with mental illness, should be expected to be this pretty little snowman all the time. But you also can't expect when you hear the word bipolar and you hear the word or someone say they have bipolar, you can't expect them to be that snowball either. Sometimes they're neither of those things.
Most of the time, I'm pretty fine and normal. I'm allowed to say this because I'm a woman, by the way. I'm probably, it's probably just that time of the month.
I can confirm it. I can say that like 99.9% of the time, it's just normal old Kailey. In the words of April Kepner, it's not the same thing.
I could, get on my soapbox about that forever.
Is there anything coming up soon that you're really excited about? Hint, hint.
Yeah, Alex had something very specific he wanted me to say here. But I am legit excited about it. There might be some music coming on the channel.
And honestly, the stuff that we've come up with so far, some of our best stuff.
Am I allowed to confirm that we have one completed song and that it's dope?
We do.
Are gonna love it.
Surprised Mark's involved in this too. Of course he is. Mark Flaherty, everybody.
Did you really expect, Bizarre Tokyo like music without Mark?
Wait. Can we confirm that this is in fact an Argyle Sweaters album?
Technically. Okay. I'm sorry, but Amadeus is like my favorite middle name of anyone that I know. Our boy's married, guys.
And we're still single. What are we doing wrong? So, yes, we can confirm that there is new music from the Argyle Sweaters coming sometime in 2021.
Yes. One of them is completed. It sounds super dope. Y'all are gonna love it. It's a total mood and a total vibe. This was a project that started in June?
Yeah, because you and I were going to start doing a podcast, and then we said no to that. And honestly, I'm really proud of the stuff we have come up with so far.
It's all over the place, by the way. All the songs are gonna sound very drastically different. That's what makes it fun.
We sort of wanted to have something we wanted to bring a little joy and happiness to people and make some content that people are actually going to enjoy. So this whole album is sort of our brainchild, and with Mark.
We brought in the master. We're not making timeline promises here, but we promise you there will be music.
If there's one thing you take away from this video, genius takes turn.
And Jesus loves you.
Yes, I know.